Welcome to the Clock Hour. I'm your host, Marv Kennel, back once again. This is another year now. We're in another year, 2025. I have a very, very special guest. As always, all my guests are very special. My man, Mr. Samuel
Nisbett.
Nisbett. I didn't want to mess it up. Samuel Nisbett. And you know what's funny is I met the brother in church. And the brother said he had a book. So, come on, let's talk about your book. And how you been, first of all? Happy New
Doing
Year
good.
to
Happy
you.
New Year's. I've been doing really good.
There?
Everything is, God is good. God is good. God is
Right.
good. So, yeah, it was amazing how I met you in church that time.
Because you actually stood up and spoke about your book.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I ain't get a chance to get your book yet, but hopefully I could get it and get a chance to read through it. But I want you to tell us a little bit about what it's about, basically.
It's basically about my life story. A lot of times, I tell a lot of stories because I've been through a lot in my life, and I like encourage people, with different things. I encourage them, on things they could do. I'm always trying to motivate people and always trying to be like a mentor. And I was talking to a young lady at work. I'm a chef down the city, in Manhattan at a club, jazz club. And I was talking to her, and she wrote many poetry books. And I said, man, I would love to write a book. And she just kept encouraging me. And my book is basically to let people know, no matter what they've been through in life, they can make it.
Right.
I was abandoned. I was at the age of 12 years old. I was kicked out of a church. Once you get the book, you'll find out why and more about that.
Right.
But yeah, it's a lot that I went through.
So let me ask you a question. Are you speaking to young folks about, because right now, to me, things are a little different out there right now. And having someone that's experienced what they think is the worst thing ever, kind of help. Like even, I bounce back and forth to different schools and stuff, and I'm listening to the youth. They're in trouble. Some of them don't know what to do.
Right.
But your book shows that all is possible.
Right.
And
I was fortunate because I did work at a group home with adolescents 14 to 18.
Yeah.
And a lot of the young kids, I was able to relate with them.
Okay.
I was able to, talk with them. Actually, I did that in the 80s. And right now, this day, I'm still in touch with these young men and still encouraging them.
Okay.
And they're in their 40s. They got kids that are graduating high school.
Right.
But I still encourage them. If I see them put something silly on Facebook, I say, no, take that down. That's
Right.
not right. You
Right.
shouldn't be putting that up there.
I'm guilty.
And if they want to listen, they listen.
Yeah.
But one of them had a gun rack. It was a nice gun rack. But I said that's not something that you should be putting up on your Facebook.
Man.
If you like it, but you don't post that on your Facebook.
Right. As far as violence, I don't get into that. Humor, I get a kick out of certain things. But anything violent, or I even try to fade away from the political standpoints because it gets kind of tricky, and a lot of people are sensitive nowadays. So I try to fall back from all of that. I had got kicked off for a while on one of my pages, so I said, well, I ain't gonna get kicked off no more. I'm gonna try to be compassionate about what other people feel. So I think, I've been doing pretty good so far.
Yes.
So you're actually from the city.
Yeah, I'm from the Bronx, New York.
Okay.
I did move up here about almost close to 2 years ago. I moved up to Waterbury,
All right.
but I still work in the city. I do car service up here in Waterbury still, though.
All right.
So I do get a little bit, get to know the area.
Right. Because when I met you, I was listening. I'm always listening and see what you got going on, so that way we can actually promote it. We're gonna promote this book out there, turning pages of my life. So get you a copy. Where can they get a copy? Also,
It's on Amazon. They could go to Amazon anytime, Barnes and Noble,
okay,
and they could get their books, their copies. It was funny how I met you. One of my friends, he was ordained here in Waterbury. One of my friend Everett Rogers, he was ordained up here in Waterbury.
okay,
And I couldn't make the ordination service, but the next Sunday I was off. I said, let me go to this church, to go,
right,
because I feel you could praise God anywhere.
right. You
Because the
can,
church is in my heart.
Right.
So, I could praise God anywhere. So I said, let me just go to this church and, just give God some thanks from where he brought me from. And I got to the church and I was telling the first lady, I was like, yeah, how was the ordination last week? She said, ordination? No, nobody got ordained here. I said, is this? And I showed her the address. She said, oh, no, we would have loved to have you, but that's the church down the block. I said, no, you have me. I said, if the Lord brought me here,
Right.
I'm going to come here and worship. And I had
Right.
such a beautiful service there.
right,
And that's how we met. And,
right, right. And you know what? It's funny too, because we box ourselves in, just like you said, church is in your heart. You box yourself in and say, well, let me go to church. I go to church every Sunday. But you meet and do more outside of there after the fact or even before the fact. Like there's a spot I go have breakfast at on Sunday mornings, and then I go to church. But that's part of my church service, going to have breakfast with these two young ladies. They have this diner, and I go there over there, and then I come to church. You know what I mean? And then that day you said you had a book, so I was like, okay, let's get together and figure out how we can push this book out there.
Yeah, basically my book is really to help people. When my wifey said, like, why did you write the book? Yeah, I make a couple of dollars from it, but it's basically to help somebody.
Right.
I do car service here in Waterbury, and a young man got in the car, and he was telling me, he said, yeah, I just came home a week ago. He did 11 years. And we started talking and talking, and I said, you know something? I don't do this, but I'm gonna do this for you. I said, I got a book I'm gonna give you. I said, I like your energy.
Right.
And I wanna see you make it out here. I want you to read my book for inspiration for you. I signed the book and I gave it to the brother for free. And we've been friends ever since. I belong to a dad's club. It's a network, Real Dads. We speak once a week, or we Zoom once a week, every Thursday from 7 to 8. And I told him about how he could meet some positive brothers.
Right.
And the next week he was on that podcast, on the Zoom.
Uh-huh.
And ever since he been going to it, and he just wants positive energy. Sometimes some people just need a helping hand.
Yeah, that's it.
And my book actually consists of had drug addiction. I was involved in robberies. I was involved in all kinds of crazy stuff.
Right.
But one of the main common denomination was my mother was a praying mother. And she was praying for me when I was out there doing all my mess. And fortunately, I had a guardian angel that carried me through all this mess. I wasn't, I thought I was slick. I thought I was, this fast guy from the Bronx, making it.
Right.
But it wasn't all me. It was my mother's prayers that was holding me down.
Right.
And it's a lot of times when you're going through things, I was doing a book signing in Harlem, and the lady said, is this one of those Jesus books? I said, listen, it's a Jesus book, it's an NA book, it's an AA book, it's a
Right.
therapy book, it's an incarceration book, it's all the above.
Right.
Because I needed a whole body, a whole village to get me to where I am today.
Right.
in the book it tells how I was homeless at one time.
Yeah.
But I didn't put in the book how now I own a home. You know.
Right. And you know what? It's really against all odds. Here
Yes.
you are
Yes.
today.
Yes.
And that's pretty much any young brother that grew up in the 70s and 80s. Here you are today.
Right.
And they like, how did you do it? You maneuvered through a system and society that was really detrimental to your livelihood.
And you know, churches, I said church is in your heart, but sometimes it's good to go to services.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you why. I'm a chef, and I worked at many kitchens.
Uh-huh.
And it was this one kitchen I was working at White Plains Medical Center, and the chef used to ride me, and we used to get on each other's case. It got so bad, I told a white guy, I told him, yo, let's step outside and let's handle this like men. He said, I ain't going out there. So that next Friday, I went to church over there in Mount Vernon. I went to a service, and the evangelist seemed like she was right in the kitchen with me at work. She said, listen, sometimes y'all at work and y'all disagreeing with people, if you change your attitude, everything would turn out right. I'm like, she talking to me? She must be really talking to me.
Right.
I went to work the next day. Michael Lincoln was his name. He said, Sam, you didn't put a date on that sauce. I said, I'm sorry, chef. I'll get it right now. He was like, wait. He was ready for me to argue with him, right? He came at me again. I said, oh, I apologize.
Right.
I get that. So my whole attitude changed. We became best friends. We became best friends. And then when a new guy came in, he started riding him. He called me in the office. He said, I'm riding him too hard. I said, nah, he could use a little more.
Right.
But it's sometimes your attitude.
Right.
And I learned that in church.
Right.
It's like so many things that I would learn in church. And I'm like, wow, that's God speaking to me right across the pulpit.
And you know what? We were supposed to meet. Food is my trade. I was a cook in the Navy, submarines. So I couldn't go nowhere. So when the hard time, I worked for a couple of chefs up in Groton. And the guy, he was just riding me every day, every day. And I said, y'all sent us over there to learn. I said, this dude is not teaching us anything. He has us cutting up all his bulk items. His bulk items were situated for about a month. And he just got on my nerves so bad I flipped out and left. There was no way I can change dynamics with this dude. No way. He just could push my buttons that much. Like I was a cook. I was cooking at the college in West Haven. And I told him, I said, the pans are too small. He wanted me to use the smaller pans. I said, the pans are too small. You're cutting up the broccoli and vegetables. I had sauteed those. They're big. They're not getting done. I thought I told you which one to use. That's why they're throwing away your food. I said, they're not throwing away my food. Look at my line. My line's out the door. You must be mistaken. So all he could do was walk away. Walk away. I said, you want to show me? That's what I said, show me. I didn't want to give him a hard time, but I was like, okay, show me. And then I'll walk away. You show me where I'm wrong, I'll leave. Yeah, I'm in food, man. That's my trade. I'm not a chef, but food service is my trade. For what, 30 years?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been with my company since 2010.
So we were supposed to meet.
Yeah, I've been with this one company that I'm with now. I've been with them since 2010, and great performance. We even do we used to do the Miami Open.
Yeah.
They used to fly me down there.
The golf thing?
The tennis.
Tennis?
Yeah.
Oh,
They
okay.
used to fly me down to Florida,
Yeah.
and I used to do like over 2,500 burgers a day, not counting the chicken tenders and the chicken sandwiches
Right.
a day. But I was like the overseas chef of the burger stand.
Okay.
And then we had workers that come, temp workers from Miami that would work under me. And, I did a lot of, we run the Apollo run a lot of big places. I've been with them for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, but the book basically, you know, if I was married to a drug called, I don't know, some people call it angel dust, wet, but I was married to it, and I used to just do some crazy stuff. I
Wow.
mean, like run out of gas in my car 3 times in one night, just
3 times.
3 times in one night. And me and my boy, we put gas in and we just start driving, run out. We just so high. We just not thinking that we got to put more gas in the car.
You run out of gas in the city.
In the city,
You were in the Bronx.
in the Bronx, in Hunts Point, 3 times in one night. And it's like so many things that I did. I put it in the book not to glorify
Right.
what I was doing wrong. I put it in the book because I feel sometimes people are going through the same thing I'm going through, and it could help them. I had a young man that was a dishwasher. He kept saying, "Chef, when that book coming out? When that book?" I said, "My man, come on, man, book coming out." So the book came out. He came in. I signed it for him. He went home and read it. He goes, "Wow, Chef, your mother was just like mine." I said, "What?" And he's into that dust and getting high, acting crazy. And I said, "What?" And then I caught myself. I said, "Wait, that's one of the reasons I wrote the book. God's willing, he'll get his act together because he sees the way I function now. The
Right.
strongest drug I do now is a cup of coffee.
And you still here.
And I'm here. I lost a lot of loved ones along the way.
Yeah.
And it's a book so people don't lose loved ones along the way. It's to save somebody's life. That book's to save somebody's life. If that book could save one person's life, it was worth me writing that book. I went through a lot of things, and a lot of people taught me things. I got to travel a lot. I lived an interesting life. The head director of Lincoln Center, this lady, she brought the book, and she said, "Oh, Sam, I'm going on vacation. I'm gonna read your book." And when she came back, she said, "Wow, I'm really proud of you. You went through a lot, and look at you now." Because she met me the way I am now. She didn't know me back then, but she read about me, and she know the man that I am now. So she was like, "Wow, that's where you came from, and that's where you are now." So she looks at me now different. And the book, I do a lot of book signing in Harlem.
Okay.
I had guys from shelters come
Yeah.
and say, "Listen, I want to invest in your book just so I could get out of what I'm going through."
Right.
Listening to my story, they like, "I want to get out of what I'm going through so I could become, successful." Like, I still got a long way to go, but I came a long way.
They have a C car downtown. You ever stop in there and talk to them or anything?
Nah, I never did, but I'm willing. I'm willing to share my story with anybody I could
Yeah.
share my story with, because if I could help one person,
Right.
that's my reason for living. And a
Right.
lot of times I look back on my life and I lost a lot of loved ones. I got a couple pictures of them, of some of my loved ones in the back of the book.
Right.
But I lost a lot of friends. I would say 80% is from drugs. I lost them. 10% from sickness, not taking care of their health,
Right.
and even the Real Dads Club got me to go do checkups, take care of your health. So many young men do not go get checkups. Women more get checkup than men.
Right.
And I was losing friends like bam, bam. So I went to the doctor. I said, "Listen, I want a thorough checkup. I want to know everything." He said, "Man, I said, "Nah, nah,
Yeah.
nah." And he said,
Right.
"I see something." I said, "Oh man, what you see?" you got cancer. You got prostate cancer. I said, let's do it. What
Right.
I got to do? 2018, they took my prostate out, and I'm a cancer survivor too.
Right. God bless.
Yeah, and it's basically because I went for that checkup because
Right.
I was lifting weights, I was pumping weight, I was doing my thing, just living life on life term. I ain't feel nothing. And when the doctor said, you got prostate cancer, I was like, huh?
Right.
They checked my blood, it was in my blood.
So let me ask you a question. What was the turning point for you to just stop doing drugs? It wasn't, I know it wasn't overnight.
Nah, it wasn't overnight.
Right.
It was basically 85, I went to a church. It's in the book about White Plains Deliverance. Went to a church and I had an awesome pastor that was like my mentor. And even in the church, I was still getting high.
Yeah.
I mean, there's one part of the book where,
So the pastor saw something.
yeah, he just wasn't gonna let me go. And that was the first church I went to since I was exiled from a church. So being 12 years old, being put out of a church, I didn't want nothing to do with God, church, religion. If you turned some gospel music on, I told you, yo, turn it off. I don't want nothing to do with that.
Right.
But in '85, my best friend Rodney, he kept coming around saying, yo, Sam, I got a church, man, I want you to come to. I was like, come on, man, you know I sell drugs. I do drugs, I do stick-ups. Church ain't my thing, man, come on.
Right.
He kept bugging me, and this guy, you know, it pays when you're witnessing, and this, I hope somebody that be witnessing listen to this. He had a smile on his face 24/7. I said, what's wrong with this dude? He's so happy all the time. What's wrong with this? He's sick or something? Like he always laughing. He talking about, I got a great God. I'm like, come on, man. You know, you don't know me because I already know God put me out of a church, which I
Right.
didn't know was a doctrine of the church that put me out. So he came to me one day. He said, yo, we got service 7 days. Pick one. I said, all right, man. Let me pick one. I went to church with him one day. About a couple weeks later, I went again. Pretty cool church. Everybody was really nice. A couple weeks after that, I went again. This little old lady, Mother Todd, she came up to me. She said, Sonny, and this is a church where they had about 200 people in the choir.
Yeah.
It was big choir. It was a big church.
Yeah.
Little old lady come up to me the third time I came to the church, and I ain't come 3 days in a row. I came like, you know,
Right.
Sonny, they got a saying in this church, 3 times and you hooked.
Right. She saw you.
I said, how she know it's my third time? I said, all these people, and you saying this is my third time. Like, how you? And I had one of those, I'll never forget, I had one of those Ford Blazers with the 4-inch lift kit.
Yeah, okay.
It was a Porsche red.
It's like, we better get
I had this
young
big
man.
old truck I used to pull in. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah.
And she said, 3 times and you hook. And I look at her like, this lady don't know what she's talking about. I was in that church for 32 years.
She did know.
32 years I stayed in that church.
Wow.
And she knew what she was talking about. And it was this, when I fell, the people said, nah, bro, Sam, you can make it.
Right.
Come on, you can make it. I'm going to tell part of the book. I ain't want to tell too much of the book, but it was one time I went to church on a Sunday. It was a beautiful day, beautiful Sunday service. Oh, I enjoyed it. And you come back to the night service. So in between, everybody go home, get a little something to eat, and come on back.
Right.
So I had a beautiful service. I said, I want to come back to this night service. Well, when I get on the block, I see my man, Pistol Pete, the drug dealer. I said, oh, man. I said, I can handle this 2 bags. I usually do like a bundle, 10 bags. I do a lot.
Right.
I said, let's roll up 2 bags. I smoked. I said, oh, man, I'm going back to church. Devil, you a lie. I'm going back to church. This is after I smoked angel dust.
Oh, man.
So I go back to the church. I'm sitting in the service. And my best friend, he's like my brother, he was on the drums. and he seen me, and he seen the condition I was in. So he came in the back, whispered in my ear. He said, Sam, stay for the service, but when you leave and put your offering in, just leave. Don't say nothing to nobody. I'm going to call you later. I stayed for the service. I put my offering in, and I left. He called me. He said, man, you was fired up, man. and I ain't want, but he didn't want to embarrass me.
Right.
He didn't want the people to talk mess about me.
Right.
He had an interest in my, and he used
So
to,
that's in the book, not the
that
bad
one part is in the book.
Pardon, but that was
I got stories. I tell
So-
stories that
we could go all day. I gotta cut the show off. But you're more than welcome to come back. I want to read the book. I'm trying to keep up with you. I thank you for coming out. This show was actually for the people, by the people, about the people. And I want to thank you for coming in. I wish I could keep going on that one
Yes,
because
yes,
that
yes.
was actually interesting. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Nah, it's
but
okay.
what did I'm gonna extend it. What did he say to you? I said because that's like a cliffhanger right now.
now one of the things he said to me is, don't stop coming.
Okay.
Keep coming.
Right.
And you know, sometimes you be going through things,
Right.
but as long as you keep doing what you got to do, you can make it.
Right. Words of wisdom. And don't forget to get the book. And thank y'all for tuning in to the Klock Hour. Very good. That was a good story, man.
Thank you.
That's like a cliffhanger. We could leave it there, but I couldn't. I can't. I didn't want to leave it there. But thank you for coming out, brother.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for
I
having
got a
me.
couple of things for you. I really do.
Yes.
Because we're going to keep you in the mix. And I was supposed to, I was trying to get into the fatherhood initiative here in Waterbury. Because I was a single dad. I lost my son's mother, for drugs. Just lost my brother last year for drugs. So I understand. I was the kid that took off. Something called me, said, you need to get up out of here. This was 87. Heard a voice. You need to get up out of here. That's when they were smoking woos and everything. And I was, sure.
I was doing
I'm
that
good.
too. You done?